This tutorial is going to walk you through the curve from two views with history ring for the primary matrix lessons. To begin, we're going to begin in the Tools menu and stick a ring rail into the viewports of size 7. Simply do that by selecting the size from the drop-down menu, 7 is our default, and clicking the green button to go. Our next job is to place a half-carat diamond, round-shaped, into the viewports. To do so, go into the Gems menu, select the gem loader, and remember to click these if you need to roll up the menus. Just click each title bar. We're going to select the round gem shape with the diamond cut type by simply clicking that shape. This gives us a library of sizes, and we need to go to the second tab in the library to find the half-carat stone. Click to place that in the viewports. Now, click and drag it straight up above the rail where you'd like the stone positioned. Select the stone and place it into Bezel Builder. This is found in the Settings menu, and it's covered in another tutorial. Place the gem inside the inbox in the builder, and it'll create the bezel. You might want to lower the bezel height down below the finger rail, making sure that the Boolean option is turned on to ensure that your ring will touch the finger rail. You can also select a new shape for this bezel by clicking the profile handle and choosing the shape from the viewports, from the profile browser that appears at the bottom of your viewports. Once you like the results, press enter to keep them. The handles will disappear and the bezel will be created. Let's draw back this. Remember that if you ever need to change this bezel in the future, you can select it and hit F6 to get the handles back. Choose Edit Bezel, and your handles will return. We're not going to change it this time, so just press enter. Also, with history, you can select the block instance or the gem, press F6, MSR, and move the gem anywhere, and the bezel will be able to follow it around. So we can make this ring just a little shorter at the top. You can do this today while you're designing, or 10 days from now when you come back into Matrix and need to change this ring, or at any point in the future. It's a great technique. Okay, our next order of business is to create a shape for the curve from two views ring. And it's just going to be drawn in the looking down view, and it's going to represent the shape of the ring in this view. I'm going to double click the looking down name to maximize it. Kind of get this centered, and then choose a new layer color with which to draw this. We'll choose user green. Using the curve tool, interp curve, we're going to start past the end of the ring rail. As you can see, it's that little maroon line, and just begin to draw this shape. And don't come too close to the bezel. Wrap around the bezel and complete the curve. Okay. If you need to edit this curve, turn on these edit points or control points. Oopsie. And make sure you click and drag on the curve control points, not the bezel or anything else, to change the look of the curve and to figure out exactly how you want to design this ring. Let's put this in a job bag and minimize looking down again. You can see that that ring is flat against the grid. You should also check and make sure your project button is turned on while you're drawing that, just in case you snapped anything and it ends up being not planar or jumping somewhere off the flat looking down viewport or construction plane. In order to run curve from two views, it has to be flat. So one way to get it flat is simply turn on project before you begin drawing it. If yours isn't flat when you come back here to look at it, if you snapped up here somewhere, delete the curve, turn on project, and make sure you've got it turned on all the while that you're drawing. Okay. Come up here to the second row of buttons and choose Curve from Two Views History. It's going to ask you for the curve, which is the flat curve in the looking down view and the flat curve in the through finger view, or the finger rail. When you select them both, you'll notice that you get a curve in the shape of both the flat curve. Look, you can't even see it. It's the same exact shape as the flat curve and looking down, and the same exact shape as the through finger view. You can see in the perspective what this curve does. Now we messed up a little. We had full equals true turned on in the command line. We needed full equals false. I'm going to hit undo and show you that one more time. We're going to do curve from two views history. Click on full to change it to false, which will just create the top half of the curve because we don't need the bottom half, just the top half. Full equals false, and the curves are the flat one looking down and the flat one in perspective. Doesn't matter where you click on these in the viewports, it'll still draw it. There it is. And let's put this into a job bag before we proceed. Okay, our next order of business is to begin to place profiles on this curve. Select the curve and press F6 and do Profile Placer. Or of course, in the Tools menu, you can choose Profile Placer. I'm going to roll up some of these. When you do Profile Placer through F6, it automatically places this curve, the one that wraps up and around the gem, into Profile Placer. Or you'd have to select it and put it in there yourself. But once you see the profile with handles, you're all ready to situate him in your design. So let's scale the height down to a nice height between the fingers, perhaps 1.9 or 2 millimeters, and also scale the width down to a nice attractive size for the ring, perhaps 3 millimeters. When you like what you've done, you're ready to add another profile to this ring. Click Add in the command line, and the handles are now going to apply to the next profile. So when you begin to move position along curve, the first one will be left alone, and you can position the next profile where you'd like it. Since this one's up next to the gem, we'll be able to adjust the height up taller. And I also want you to take a look at the roll feature right here so that it stands up straight next to the gem. And now you'll be able to tell how wide it should be so that it intersects the bezel a little bit. And your Y offset is going to raise it up just a little bit above so it's not intersecting the finger rail, just a little bit above the finger rail. So with all those viewport controls, you should be able to get this situated in a good place for your design. If your Y offset lifts it up too high or too far past the bezel, use your X offset to move it a little, nudge it a little bit closer to the bezel, or simply scale the width. Once you've got this correctly situated for your design, press Enter, and we're going to run a Sweep 1 history on this ring. Now it's a little hard to tell what the surface is going to look like, but because we created this with our profile placer, which works together with Sweep 1 history, we'll be able to adjust the surface if necessary, after we sweep it. So we're going to start and just sweep it, see how it looks, and if we need to, we can come back and make changes. Before we do that, let's job bag the piece for safekeeping. Every time before you use a sweep tool, go to the Layers menu and select a new layer color. This makes it much easier so that you have everything on a different layer. Your creation curves are on one layer, your profiles are on another, your bezel, of course, and your gems are on another, and your metal is going to be on a totally separate layer. So with that new layer active, go to the Surface menu and choose Sweep 1 History. Your rail curve is the one, of course, with the profiles on it. We don't need that flat one anymore. Your profiles you're going to select in the order that the arrows are pointing and press Enter. And there's your really interesting surface. Really nice sweepy shape. You can see it in this view, over here. You can rotate around, take a look. And now with history, you can get this just right and figure out if it needs any adjustments. You have several different ways to adjust this surface. Of course, you have the profile way, so let's select the profile. Sorry about that. Select the profile. Click F6 and choose MSR. And now as you adjust the height higher or lower, as you roll the profile in or out, and as you offset the profile up or down, the surface is going to keep up with all your changes. Press enter to see it keep up. As always, you should make sure that your history is on. You should have had no reason to turn it off, so you should be fine with that. Okay, now it looks a little tall in this view. Doesn't matter how often we change it. Select the curve, press F6, MSR. We'll make it a little bit taller. I mean shorter. There we go. And it's wrapping right around the gem, the bezel, in a really interesting way. But suppose there was something about this rail that you wanted to change. Of course, the rail is the green curve, and the green curve was made from this original curve. Now, if we turn on the control points of this original curve, okay, unshading the model so we can see them very well, we can select the points, click and drag them, which is going to change the rail up here, which is also going to change the surface. So simply click and drag just the point object. You don't need to get anything else except the point on that original curve. And as you do so, you'll get a more, oops, sorry, don't click and drag that or it'll break history. Okay, just want to change these guys, the point objects. You'll get a more interesting shape as you go. I tend to overdo these, so I find myself making some changes and then thinking, oh, I don't like that. Undo, 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 undo. But at least you have all those options, right? Let's try this one over here. Kind of pull this in over the finger rail. Isn't that interesting? We can get this to look any way we want. And that's the curve from Two Views history working together with the sweep history, because the sweep history knows its rail curve, this guy, and this guy has a memory of this curve. So in order to adjust him, we adjust the flat curve, which is much easier to change, which in turn edits the surface. And again, I'm just going to hit undo, undo, undo. I wanted to show you how you can move it, but I think I like my first one better. We can shade that up and make sure we love the results. Okay, and hit escape twice to turn off the control points down there. Okay, another really interesting thing you can do with this model is to select the profile up here next to the gem, press F6, MSR, or of course input it back into Profile Placer to make it active, and choose a new shape for it. This lets you get many different varieties for this ring. Maybe you can run them all by your customer and see which one he or she likes best. I'm going to just scroll down and find this really interesting one that's going to create a bend next to the gem and kind of a sharp area on the other side. Remember to press enter once you make your change to see the results in the surface. This is a really nice shape. Really difficult to get this shape actually before we had all these version 6 tools. So you guys are quite lucky. Once I've made that change, I might like to make a change further down the rail. So select that profile and press F6, choose MSR, choose the little profile icon, little profile handle, and with your profile browser open, choose another shape for this guy. You can even preview them as they go by. This is really powerful stuff here. Find an interesting one and press enter. And you've got a whole new look. This is really, really fun. You could play with this all day and really change the look of your design, make something spectacular for your customer. But in the interest of finishing up this tutorial, we're going to stick this into a job bag and show you the end of the line here. Okay, the last thing we need to do, and in fact, if we want to make it really nice and attractive, we can select the profile curve. And in the Tools menu, choose Profile End Cap and make a nice attractive end cap that wraps around the gem by pulling on the handle. Press Enter to keep it there. We'll jet bag this whole thing. And the only parts we need to rotate, okay, are the surfaces. Actually, for good measure, we can grab the surfaces and the curves. Just right-click on the color of the surfaces. That includes the end cap. And right-click on the color of the curves. Those are yellow. And we'll also grab the green curves, just so we know we've got everything together. Press the Rotate command, And make sure the copy option is turned on. Now the center of your rotation is F4 in the looking down view because you want the same look on the other side of the ring. So with your cursor located over the looking down view, press F4. Your angle or first reference point, simply hold down Shift and click. This is going to let you move them in even 90-degree angles. Okay, so that's your first reference point. Now as you begin to spin the cursor, you'll see it rotate around the center. And again, hold down Shift to make this an even rotation and click one more time. And you've still got another copy on there. Press Enter without left clicking to just cancel that copy operation. It would just keep making those for you again and again, which is nice when you need them, but when you don't, not very nice. I'm going to job bag this version of the ring and show you how to sweep the bottom portion of the ring. Okay, of course, you've got two profiles, one here and one here that you're all ready to sweep between. However, because we just did the rotation, that can cause the profile, okay, one of the profiles is actually angled opposite of the other one, which is going to create kind of a twist in the bottom when we do sweep one with history. So instead, in the surface menu, we're going to do sweep one in Rhino, regular old sweep one. And we're going to show you because this has a few things that are different from sweep one with history. So to make sure you have it on a new layer color, click the new layer to select it, making it active. Select your sweep one, which is the Rhino tool. This is the matrix tool with history. This is the Rhino tool without history. Select sweep one and select the rail. That's the bottom of the ring, of course. And select the cross-section curves. Those are the profiles. Here's one and here's another. And press Enter. Okay, now you want to make sure that these arrows are pointing in the same direction for this Rhino sweep, which they are. Rhino sweep is really smart. Grabs a hold of these arrows and it puts them pointing in the same direction. It also has to put them at the same location on the profile, so they're at the middle, pointing both to the same side. Okay, now in case you needed to move these on your own, we're going to show you how, because they don't always come out correctly. Click and drag this arrow to move its position on the rail. So as you hold down the left mouse button, move your mouse around to make sure it's located, and you want it right at the middle of the profile on the mid-O snap there. Same thing with this guy. They have to be located in the same direction. So sometimes they come out over here, right? And you would be like, uh-oh. So click and drag that little point at the base to move it to the same location as the opposite arrow. Now, sometimes they come out pointing the wrong direction as well. And in order to change and flip that arrow, we move our cursor toward it until the opposite or correct arrow appears. When you see it, there he is. See him? He's very invisible. Just right there. Little purple arrow. Click once, and he'll flip around. Now back the mouse away, and he's correct. Okay, I'll just show you that again over here. Imagine this guy was pointing the wrong direction. Move your cursor over until you see the arrow that's pointing in the right direction. There he is. Once you see it, left click once with the mouse, and it flips around. Now back your mouse away, and only the correct arrow will be remaining. Once you've got those arrows positioned correctly, press Enter, and the sweep appears. Now you've also got this option box, which we don't have in Matrix because history has a lot of things to keep up with, so we limit these options on purpose for you. When you see this option box, you can choose closed, which we don't want. We want an open sweep that just creates the bottom of the ring. If we choose closed, it would also create the top of the ring, and we've already got the top of the ring. Okay. So press OK, and it'll become real, and you've got your ring. Job bag this for safekeeping. And when you want to change this ring, you'll need to start from this version right here, which is why we job bag all the way along. And then just kind of complete the rotation and the sweep last of all. So you've really got history enabled ring. Then you've just got 2 steps left to finish it off. Because remember, the bottom is not affected by history. And this side, if you made any changes over here and you wanted to keep them over here, you would have to rotate and copy it again anyway. But really, you've got a great way to come back and change this ring and make a new variation on it for your customer, then finish it off in a couple simple steps.